so I've done a lot of cleanup, so take this with a grain of, not really salt, but this is kind of the finished product. This isn't the nitty-gritty ugly stage. A little ugly, but not as ugly as it's been for the last almost 2.5 months. But here we are. So it's running, it's doing its thing. You can kind of see them in there. The fish are in there and happy. Let's see if we can see them. No, they ran off. Kind of see one down there. Maybe down there. I moved the power out there so it actually gets more sunlight to charge, because this is a solar powered filter system that's going. Less to have to finagle with. So the story is really obnoxious. This white stuff that's on the sides is Flex Seal liquid. I did not start with the liquid. All of the literature says use the liquid. I did not. So what I had originally done was put a hard plastic, you can kind of see it there, pond pre-form in, but I dug it down deeper because for fish to overwinter they need a minimum of 24 inches. In this area they need a little bit more, but that's what I was going for. And then to make it work, I put a vinyl underneath and over the top because overkill. And it continued leaking. I kind of had a feeling it would, but I'm notorious for making things harder on myself than they need to be. The little pond, hard pond filter, not pond filter, the little circular one is what kind of kicked me into doing it all in the first place. But it's just a little fun overflow. It's at an angle so it overflows into the big pond. But what eventually ended up happening is where I had glued it to the side of the small black one, the tarp pond cover, not cover, but tarp-ish pond thing started separating and it bubbled out. And all the water was going down behind that and filling up the area between the wall of the pond and that tarp-like thing. So when I went to go and be like, okay, I probably need to redo this anyway, I'm thinking I'm gonna have to concrete the sides because it's been a problem and my big old pain in my butt for a while. When I went to look at it, because I thought I saw something funky going on, when I went and actually looked, my fish were living in maybe a 2-foot by 8-inch bubble of water. All the rest of the water had been pushed down onto the outside effectively, and that 2-foot by 8-inch bubble was caused by a decorative rock formation that I have in there. So they were alive, they were safe, they had fish air, but it was not phenomenal. So there was an emergency kiddie pool acquired, as you can see up there. That is where they were quickly put in. The big thing was drained, the tarp was gotten rid of, the hard plastic part was taken out. Because everything was already taken apart, I dug everything down deeper, so now I can actually get it down. I think I got it down to like 27-ish, 28-ish inches deep. Sorry. So they can overwinter in it even better now. And then I concreted the sides. And I used a concrete that has fibers in it because I did a lot of research on this ship. And So it was supposed to be better about dealing with water and what water can do to concrete and blah 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 blah, be more watertight, all these things. Yeah, no, shit's porous as crap. So, from there it gets more obnoxious. But yes, I concreted all the way around. These are actually really long, so I'm gonna have to make it part 1 and part 2. So this is part 1, part 2 is next, and I'll go into my future plans in part 2. So this is part 2 of the complaining about the pond. So yeah, got very angry about the concrete not doing what I was told it was going to do, and went and bought a bunch of Flex Seal spray, because I've used the Flex Seal spray on a small roofing thing I've done in the past, and it worked great for that. So my ADHD brain was like, why would I need this $35 can of liquid when a can of the spray will probably do the same thing and work, the same, be fine. It's cheaper. It was not cheaper. I ended up having to use 3 cans of the spray to do the whole pond once. One layer on the whole pond took 3 cans of the spray. So I'm already over the cost of 1 can of the liquid. And I ended up doing 2 layers. So it took me 6 cans of the spray to get the whole pond. And it leaked like a freaking sieve still. And I'm like, okay, that wasn't working well. Let's try the paste, because the paste is really, really, really thick. And I thought that'll fill these huge holes left by the concrete, and it'll work better. Not only was the paste an absolute pain to work with, and I mean literal pain. Like, how can something be that hard to work with? It filled next to nothing. Next to nothing. And it took 3 cans of the paste to do 1 layer on the pond. And we're talking big cans, like the same size as the Flex Seal liquid cans of the paste, to do 1 layer on the pond. And when those were dried and cured, it still leaked like a sieve. It wasn't as fast, but it was still leaking like a sieve. At this point, I'm so frustrated, I don't even know where to begin. And I go back over my thought process, and I'm like, you know what, everything says you should have used the liquid. Let's just try the liquid and see where we get. Use the liquid. Not only does 1 can cover the entire pond and then some, it fills the holes way better. Like, it went from leaking like a sieve to there were a few air bubbles here and there occasionally. It probably would have lost maybe 4 inches of water a day instead of 4 inches of water half an hour on 1 coating of the liquid. I let that dry, let it cure, put a second one of that on because I need this thing to actually be watertight, right? Did a second thing of the liquid. It's almost perfect. Almost perfect. Now granted, a lot of this is because of the way that I ended up doing the pond. I'm fighting a lot of things that I shouldn't have done. So it's my own damn fault for making it this hard. But the second can took it from maybe 4 inches of water loss a day to about 2. I think I had 2 inches of water loss in 24 to 48 hours. It was not bad. Like, I could have lived with that. But I, again, wanted it to be watertight. I didn't want it to be leaking constantly. I didn't want to have to be constantly refilling it, constantly adding that stress. So I threw the last one on there just to be safe, because I bought 3 cans thinking it was going to be another fight. Which, this stuff, I mean, we're talking smooth as butter, fills all the gaps beautifully. It's just, oh, actual pleasure to work with. I put that 3rd layer on. We're 48 hours in, and it has not dropped its level at all. So when they say, hey, use this product, or if you don't have the money to use that like $300 product, but this one works just as well, use it. Just use it. Don't use the off-brand or the offshoot of that same product, because it's not going to work the same. Just use the product they say to use. Now, Flex Spray is great for other things. I'm sure Flex Paste has a great use for something somewhere. But when it comes to a pond, or something you actually want watertight, just use the freaking liquid, okay? Just use the liquid. But yeah, it's done. It's fine. It's... just use the liquid. See, my long-term plan is to make a winterized little, kind of like a hoop covering for it to go all around the outside to kind of give it protection from the wind and snow long term. Say hi.
Yeah.
No, you're not gonna say hi. No. My goodness, that's a face. Oh. But yeah, that's my long-term plan. Is to build a little cover for it, so that the crazy Wyoming winters aren't as drastic on them. And I do have a plug-in aerator that I can have running throughout, because we do get ridiculously cold here. So they have air at all times. Aeration at all times, so it doesn't ice over. Yeah. But yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised that it finally worked and is good to go. So just work on that little cover and call it a day. I don't know why I'm doing the clicking thing. I'm sorry. My brain is just... So, yay, done, finally. Hey, so I did build a little frame that goes around the pond. I kind of guesstimate measured on everything. Put the boards around the pond after I cut them, cut the angles one by one during a lunch break from lectures, because that's apparently what I do on my lecture breaks. And then screwed them together the other day. Or was it today? It was yesterday. And yeah, so that's that. This is after I figured out where the skeleton needs to sit. and have screwed the supporting structures for it in place and have sprayed it with kind of a water locking lacquer type thing so that it's a little more water resistant. This is the skeleton in question, made out of PVC pipes that I have forced to obey my will with a heat gun. I didn't burn myself for once. I think this is the first project with a heat gun where I haven't burnt myself. I did, however, break part of it, so I finagled it back together. But yes, that fits on top of the other base. This is where the base fits around the pond. I ended up taking the second liner that I took off of the pond in the first place, cutting it up and putting it underneath that, which I think you'll see here in a minute. So it has a little bit of a thing to sit on. It's not really going to be like waterproof underneath, but it gives it something to sit on top of, which should help a little bit with frost and snow not seeping in. A little bit more of the weather resistance? Is that the right term? But yeah, this is it all together. The skeleton is like properly secured to it now. The only thing I have left to do is figure out if I'm going to use just a clear tarping or if I'm going to look at clear roofing materials, kind of like a polycarbonate, to secure to the outside so that when the wind comes through, it doesn't get like picked up and pulled, but or ripped. Like, I'm concerned that a tarp would just get ripped, no matter how heavy duty it says it is. We can regularly get 60-mile-per-hour winds through this area. I don't care how strong you say a tarp is. 60-mile-per-hour winds versus a tarp, no. I have seen that take polycarbonate roofing and rip it to shreds when it had free access to it. So, that's kind of another reason I have it at the angle it does, because our wind typically comes from that direction to this way. So it's a little more aerodynamic if the wind does come through. But that also depends on pricing. And I'm planning on putting a little window or door type thing right in there so that I can still get in there and access things if I absolutely must. But it's going to depend on pricing and stuff like that. But I'm a little more confident in this than I originally thought I would be, and I'm happy with that. Yeah, so that's the base and skeleton for my pond cover. Yeah, hopefully this will help them through the winter. Oh, and you can see at the very bottom there that it's sitting on top of those little cut up pond liners. So yeah, there's my sort of jerry-rigged, sort of not jerry-rigged, actually kind of sort of thought out pond cover. Did the city of Cheyenne finally get power over one of the abandoned houses near me? They have so many vehicles on their lot, it's not even funny. And down trees. Spoke with one of the guys and they said the city has told them if you don't clean it up, we will. And they've given them enough warnings, so it's cleanup day. So far it's taken two, what are those called? Towing trucks to get 3 vehicles and 2 trailers out. I'm not sure if there's other vehicles hidden back there, but they've also got huge, like, dump trucks and skid steers and stuff so they can pick all the trash up and put it in and just tow it all off. This is bananas. I've been here like 7 years, 8 years, and they haven't touched this place once, and now they're just coming in and doing it all in one day. Just
he comes to save the day. Mighty Mouse is on his way.
That looks promising. I know.
Dude.
Like, you can see the front of the house now. Mighty Mouse, Mighty Mouse. And just like that, they're done. It only took them about 4 hours to clear out an entire lot's worth of crap and flatten it. It's kind of crazy. That whole thing. I didn't know there was a fence on the other side. I mean, I knew, but you couldn't see it. You couldn't see the front of the house. None of it. That's crazy. And for anybody freaking out going, about the people that live there, nobody lives there. I've been in this house for 7 years, and I have not seen a single person in or out of that house. Ever. And apparently they've given this person over a year's worth of warnings. And nada. Makes me wonder what'll happen to the actual neighbor, because they don't live in that house right next to me either. And they've got 2 derelict buildings in the back. And they only show up once a year to mow the lawn, sort of. And they only mow really the front. The back is pretty well trashed. I don't know, this is weird. And this all started because they finally got contracts with tow companies to go and start towing vehicles that are on people's properties that don't take care of things. The registration in the vehicles, last time they were registered was 2010. Bruh. Yes, I assume. Small town living. Sorry about it.